Hi everybody, welcome to the coldest day. Actually, I think probably Friday last week was the coldest day. I know it was the shortest day. So we're working our way back from the, Pete, what's it called? The winter solstice. Yeah. Where all those crazy people in Tasmania take all their clothes off, put on a red beanie and go swimming.
I swam in the summer down there and it's cold.
Do they have a summer, do they?
Sort of.
No, I love Tasmania. I think it's most atmospheric and interesting. But the coldest start to winter in decades. But of course, if you listen to the ABC, it's global warming. Oh dear. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. It's hard to believe that it is 60 years ago that the Beatles were in Australia. Do you remember? Do you remember, Pete?
I was in London.
They were here and you were there. Okay. 60 years. 100 years since the first motorcycle Grand Prix was in Australia. And I'll bet, Kim Beneitha wouldn't have been around then. No, but he was very involved in motorsport, motorcycling. He was a tearaway, Kim Beneitha. They could make a movie about that man. Oh, by the way, as you try to make ends meet, spare a thought for our new Republican Governor-General, Sam Mostyn. Albo's upped her salary to $709,000 a year. Now that's up from the current $495,000 paid to General David Hurley. Now what's happened between David and Sam, I wonder? I mean, between the two appointments. The PM gets about $550, and the Governor-General, and it's purely a ceremonial role. I don't think there's too much responsibility, just a lot of ribbon cutting and cucumber sandwiches. I don't know. But I would have thought it would be an honorary ceremonial position. You do it for the sheer prestige. And of course all these people get board and keep and travel and cars and all the rest of it along with their huge salary. But I think it's probably time to look at how these things are determined and what we get for our money. It's a democracy. We have a right to know. Choice magazine have hundreds of mystery shoppers out checking on supermarket prices. Be an interesting thing to do. Just wandering around shopping, getting somebody to pay you to do it. And speaking of shopping, Adelaide Fresh Fruit Store it's called. It's in Morford Vale. I can't tell you anything more about it. It's been named the best fruit shop in the world.
Yes, I've shopped there. It's very good.
Is it?
Yes, very good.
Wow, I don't know how you judge the best fruit shop in the world. And I want to talk to you about one of our sponsors a little bit later on, the Rising Sun. They have just been crowned the best pub in Adelaide. The Rising Sun Inn in Norwood has just scooped up the best pub and bar title, marking another proud moment for the team and all who cherish this heritage-listed venue. And I'm delighted that they're sponsors of this program. It's wonderful. Talk to you about that later. One thing is certain about this nuclear debate, which will rage right up to the next election. There will be lots of heat and not much light. Politics, misinformation, distortion, hysteria, nonsense, fear-mongering. Will we get an informed, decisive decision? I doubt it. Like the voice referendum, selective reporting, especially from the ABC. Oh, it's easy to do that. It's easy to, well, they think it's easy anyway. Well, look, we won't notice. easy to shape the debate and the outcome. They come to a conclusion and then they argue their way back from there, like they did with The Voice. They determine who comments, they choose who is interviewed. They, of course, have the right to edit all these things anyway. With the ABC particularly, I fear the deck is well and truly stacked. I was watching The Insiders on the ABC. David Spears is very good. What I could do with him? Well, first thing I'd do would be to take the ideological shackles off and let him have his head. But then again, dreams are free. But he's a good talent. He was talking to Ted O'Brien, the opposition energy spokesman. No one pushes Ted around. He's good on his feet. The two are kind of perfectly matched, really. The interview reminded me a lot of that Mike Willesee, John Hewson interview in the lead up to the 1993 federal election. The federal election issue was the GST. You remember the Willesee birthday cake question? Hewson is an economist. He should have knocked that segment out of the park. But no, he couldn't explain it. Lost the interview and the election. If you can't explain it, you can't sell it. Now, Spears tried the same thing on Sunday. Bog the guy down in the fine detail of the policy and watch him squirm. Well, O'Brien didn't fall for it. The best thing the opposition has got going for itself at the moment in this upcoming furious debate is Ted O'Brien. Watch him. We need to consider a lot of things with this question. It's a very pivotal question. How many countries use nuclear power? How many reactors are there? How expensive is the power provided by those installations for the people? How reliable is it? How safe is it? You see, we don't argue the benefits of nuclear medicine. We have been the beneficiaries of nuclear medicine since the 1950s. Not controversial at all. The question of the wider use of this technology should be talked about in the light of Lucas Heights, a great Australian success story. Nothing but benefits. No problems. Life-saving benefits. I don't know if you remember Professor Harry Messel, but gee, I wish he was still around. He was a towering intellect, marvellous man on the subject. Sydney University, I think, from memory. When I heard this, I thought he was talking about the NDIS. Well, of course, he should have been talking about the NDIS. I mean, I'm talking about Bill Shorten. Bill Shorten, that's his baby. But what he was doing, he was channeling Bill Clinton, who said, memorably, it's the economy, stupid. And I think won an election on the basis of it. So Bill chimes in, Bill Shorten that is, it's the cost, talking about the nuclear debate, it's the cost, stupid. It's the cost, stupid, and the cost is way over the top. This shouldn't go ahead. Wow, I thought, the man has come to his senses. But no, he wasn't talking about the NDIS, which is not so slowly sending the country broke. He was talking about nuclear power. Amazing. What would he know? But anyway, any person who can look this nation in the face and talk about cost while he's presiding over the NDIS has got quite a hide. It shouldn't go ahead. It's the cost, stupid. Damn right. A lot has been made of the fact that the opposition won't announce just what part nuclear power will play in the electricity mix. Look, for heaven's sake, under Labor, the mix changes every day, probably every hour. And you can see that if you go to the app, which on a Friday we do every morning, just to see what portion of our power comes from where. Go and have a look at that app. When I've checked it, I can't remember a time when renewables were carrying their weight. It's always gas and coal. Gas and coal have saved the day time and time and time and time again. Otherwise, this nation would be in darkness. Renewables, one of the greatest cons imaginable. And where is the media? It's a joke that this government has presided over the most expensive electricity in the world, while at the same time we are the most energy-rich country in the world. They shouldn't be allowed to get away with this. Australia is the only country in the G20 that has a ban on nuclear power. Why would you exit coal from the system when it has and is providing the cheapest electricity in the OECD? And Australia, with its tiny 1.3% contribution to global emissions, is insignificant. This guy, Chris Bowen, he's not questioned on any of this. Why? The man's a buffoon, if you ask me. Oh, and this one I love too. I wanted to tell you about this. Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young, a warrior for the environment, came out on the weekend demanding that the government advance $23 million to restore the Coorong to health. This is at the mouth of the Murray. A massive fish kill has been discovered. It is vital that these wetlands be protected, preserved and restored, she said. Senator, how can it be that you do not know that wetlands are the enemy of the environment? Google it. Look it up. Toxic silt, which is basically what killed the fish. Wetlands are an open drain, and oh yes, the biggest contributor of the worst greenhouse gas, methane. It's something like 40% of global emissions come from wetlands, marshes and deltas. I repeat, how can this Greens senator not know this? And how can the media possibly allow this to go unquestioned? Pretty amazing. Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, this wonderful Rising Sun Inn. I've got this, which is a wire. Now, for some reason, I only got this the other day. Somebody must have resent it to me because the award was presented, it must have been a couple of months ago. The Rising Sun Inn in Norwood has scooped the pool, really, the best pub and bar title. Another proud moment for them. And they worked damn hard to make this place very, very attractive. It was made in, built in 1845, handmade bricks, beautiful open fires, so much of the original, like the pine ceilings, a lot of woodwork in there, so much of it is original. But, you know, all the modern things that you want, like air conditioning, a fantastic kitchen, and all of the rest of those things that go on behind a bar, you want those to be nice and modern. This award arrives just in time to kickstart the celebration for the pub's monumental 180th anniversary next year. The Eastside Business Awards, a collaborative by the Council and Solstice Media and all sorts of other people listed here. I won't go through those. But the Rising Sun is a beautiful pub, beautiful bar, beautiful inn. I think there are 5 entertainment areas where you can either have a romantic dinner for 2, or you can sit in front of the fire and have a family dinner or a meeting or a get-together, wedding reception, you name it. Telephone number, if you'd like to ring them, talk to Grant or Jackie on, if you're out of town and coming to town, 08 is important, but the number if you're in town, 8333 0721. You will honestly love it. You really will. I must keep that and remind you again of the details of the Rising Sun Inn. I want to tell you quickly, if I've got the time, Pete.
Yeah.
Oxfam is campaigning to introduce a super profits tax. A super profits tax. Who determines these things, I wonder? She, the head of Oxfam, singled out companies like BHP and Santos. I suppose there are quite a few other mining companies that would qualify. Anyone who's making money or that Oxfam judges to be making too much money, I don't know. Oxfam is I don't want to be critical because I don't really know, apart from what I found out when I Googled them. I don't know all that much about them. But they're a not-for-profit, a charity, with highly paid executives, by the way. Now, it could be that because of their tax-free charitable status, they don't know how the tax system actually works. We have a progressive system in Australia, meaning the more money you make, the more tax you pay, which seems to me on the basis of that to be pretty fair. If the ABC, who was doing the interview with this head of Oxfam, had just Googled, as I did, well, the best thing to Google is recent Oxfam scandals. If you want to Google that, the ABC might have ended up with a much more interesting story. But no, there's those dirty, filthy capitalists. Of course. God help us. Anyway, happy birthday if you're having a birthday, or a happy wedding anniversary, or whatever it is. If I could just tell you, it is the 25th today, and our 2 postings on Facebook and podcasts, thanks to Andy Martin, for Tuesday and Wednesday, and our live broadcast 3 hours from the dining room table on Friday. The fork. That's an interesting one. The fork was introduced to the American dining table by Governor Winthrop on this day in 1630. What the hell would they have used before a fork? Fingers? Give me that. Yes. Oh, well, 1630. Okay. 1953, the first passenger to fly commercially around the world. 100 hours. This day in 1953. I don't know what he or she was flying on. 2020, speaking of airlines, Australian airline Qantas announced it's cutting 6,000 jobs, a fifth of its workforce, because of the pandemic and the downturn in tourism. Farrah Fawcett, the American actress, Charlie's Angels, dies of cancer. She was only 62. That was 2009. Michael Jackson, same year, 2009. American recording artist, dancer, king of pop, Thriller, Bad, dies of cardiac arrest at just 50. Carly Simon, American Grammy and Academy Award-winning singer, songwriter. You're So Vain, born in New York City, this day in 1943. Jacques Cousteau, French oceanic explorer, Calypso, dies of a heart attack at the age of 87 on this day in 1997. Lord Mountbatten, British naval officer, statesman and last Viceroy of India, that was in 1947, was born in Windsor. Murdered in 1979, born this day in 1900. The first version of Anne Frank's diary, published in the Netherlands, 1947, on this day. Christie's auctioned off some of the wardrobe of Diana, Princess of Wales. $5.5 million worth of second-hand clothing. Wow. Ricky Gervais. Pete, do you like Ricky Gervais?
Yeah,
he's funny, isn't he?
He's good.
He's an acquired taste in many ways.
No, he's good.
Very dry. Ricky Gervais. The Office. He was born 1961. The first barbed wire patent. Now, if you're a barbed wire, and there are people who collect barbed wire, believe it or not, but the first barbed wire patent was issued on this day by, to Lucian B. Smith of Ohio, 1867. And that was the beginning of the range wars in America. They were terrible, terrible wars where people would put up barbed wire, and the people who just used the range to roam their cattle were very, very upset about it. A lot of people died during the range wars of the United States West. John B. Goodenough. What a great name. John B. Goodenough, American material scientist. He is the guy who invented the lithium-ion battery. So you're the one, John. Solid-state physicist and Nobel laureate in chemistry. He dies at the old age of 100. And no, it wasn't in a lithium-ion battery fire. But it was 2023 that he lost his life, or his life ended. Actress Nicole Kidman, 39, got married. 2006. Country singer Keith Urban. Late Night with David Letterman airs for the last time on this day in 1993. I think he was best. David Letterman and Jay Leno were terrific. And Pete, this is one that'll interest you because I know you've been there. 1876, the Battle of the Little Bighorn.
Yes.
Yeah? US 7th Cavalry under Major General George Armstrong Custer, wiped out by Sioux and Cheyenne warriors led by Chief Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. We've got a picture of
Sitting Bull.
Sitting Bull.
With Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, yeah. We'll stick that in there. Becomes famously known as Custer's Last Stand. You walked across the whole...
Well, I rode horseback.
Horseback across that... It's not developed. I take it is as it was back in 1876.
It's just rolling hills.
Yeah.
But I rode for 2 hours. I rode one-on-one with a Crow Indian.
Right.
Curtis Reelbird was his name.
Curtis Reelbird?
He said they got it wrong. It was supposed to be Freebird, but the birth certificate was... He was a character.
Yeah.
I say it's very much one of the highlights of my life.
I don't blame you. I think that would be a great moment. Great moment.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Just one more. Rupert Murdoch. He was 68. He marries his third wife. I don't know what he's up to now. I think fifth or sixth. But his third wife was Wendy Deng. She was 30. They got married at the yacht mooring. The boat was called Morning Glory in New York Harbor on this day in 1999. Anyway, if you're celebrating the day, I hope it's been a ripper and it's not over yet. Thank you very much for being with us. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I will be back tomorrow. Believe in yourself, and thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion.